The twin moons of planet Ixer hung low over the royal capital, their pale glow casting long shadows across the towering crystal spires. The grand hall was silent. Rows of officials, scientists, and warriors sat stiffly, eyes locked on the queen's throne, but she was not speaking. She sat still, eyes filled with fear, a fear none of them dared to voice out loud. For years, their people had been pretending the falling birth rates were just temporary. Pretending the empty nurseries were a phase. Pretending extinction wasn't slowly creeping toward them like a silent storm. But the truth could no longer be ignored. A tall, thin scientist named Dr. Kevel stepped forward. His skin, once a healthy silver blue, now looked dull under the stress. His voice trembled as he began. "We have run every genetic test known to our science. The results are clear. Our species' reproductive system is failing. If no action is taken within 3 generations, the Ixerian race will be gone." A low murmur spread through the chamber. Some gasped. Others looked away, but no one was truly surprised. Deep inside, they all knew. Still, hearing it aloud, it felt like a death sentence. But there must be a solution. A council elder insisted, her voice shaking. Artificial wombs? Genetic correction? Something, anything? Dr. Kevel shook his head. "We've tried. The problem isn't just physical, it's in our DNA now. Generations of pure blood preservation, no crossbreeding, no change. We've weakened ourselves." The queen finally spoke, her voice cold but calm. "What are you suggesting, doctor?" The room froze. He hesitated. Then he said it, the forbidden words. "We must look beyond Ixer, our only chance of survival lies in outside genetics. In simpler words, we must breed with another species." The silence was louder than any explosion. "You mean, the humans?" Someone asked from the back. "Earth's population is genetically compatible. Their resilience, adaptability, and reproductive health far surpass ours. With careful selection and bonding, it may be possible to save our kind." The word bonding made many flinch. The idea of joining with a human so primitive, so fragile, was unthinkable. The Ixerian people had always believed in purity. Interbreeding was taboo, a dirty secret from ancient times. But now, those old beliefs were killing them. "This is madness," shouted one of the high generals. "You want us to beg apes too? Save us? They won't be begged," Dr. Kevel said firmly. "They'll be studied, selected, trained if needed." "Used," someone muttered. The queen raised a hand. "Enough." The room went silent again. "If what you say is true, then we no longer have the luxury of pride," she said. "Begin a quiet operation. No public announcement. No panic. Only the council and selected agents will know. Send scouts to Earth. Gather data. Study their physiology. And," she paused, "bring back viable samples." The order was clear. As the hall slowly emptied, a young alien girl stood at the edge, her heart pounding. Her name was Arila. She was a junior researcher, barely out of her training. She had been assigned to monitor the meeting as a recorder. But now she was thinking of something else entirely. Human males. She had read the old, restricted files. Seen images of them, raw, rugged, emotional creatures, with unpredictable behavior and warm eyes. She remembered one quote from the human database. "They love fiercely, even when broken." Maybe, she thought, that's what Ixer needed now. Back in her dorm, Arila looked at the moonlight shining through her window. The last known birth on their planet had been over 2 cycles ago. No child's laughter echoed in the cities anymore. Her older sister had cried herself to sleep for months after her last failed fertility attempt. And her mother, once a strong warrior, had grown weak with grief. If no action was taken, their world would turn to dust. She opened a secret file on her console, one she wasn't supposed to have. It showed a video feed from Earth. A human Male was working in a field, shirtless, laughing with another. His movements were clumsy by Xarian standards, but powerful. Free, alive. Erla felt something stir inside her, a strange mixture of curiosity, hope, and something warmer. Perhaps this wasn't the end. Perhaps it was the beginning. Erla stood quietly at the edge of the launch bay, her hands behind her back, eyes locked on the sleek black scout ship that shimmered under the hangar. Lights. The mission had begun. Only 5 were chosen from hundreds of volunteers. She was the youngest. The others, seasoned agents and elite scientists, barely noticed her. But she didn't mind. She wasn't here to be seen. She was here to find him. Earth was classified as a Tier 3 civilization. Not advanced, not dangerous, but unpredictable. Their emotions, their stubbornness, their loyalty, it all fascinated her. The Xarian Council wanted genetic solutions. Erla wanted something deeper. Something they had forgotten. Connection. As the ship pierced through hyperspace, she reviewed the profiles again. They had already captured several human males from remote locations. No families, no public records, no one who'd missed them. Ethically questionable, yes, but necessary? According to the Council, absolutely. One file stood out. Jack Carter. Age, 27. Former soldier. Missing after a mountain expedition. No known relatives, but the footage. She tapped the screen, replaying it. A scuffed-up human, tied to a bench in a containment pod, looked straight at the camera. Bruised, shirt torn, lip bleeding but laughing. "Tell your blue princess I'm not breeding with anyone unless I get dinner first," he'd said with a grin. The guard had slapped him. He just laughed harder. Erla smiled despite herself. He wasn't afraid. He wasn't begging. He wasn't even angry. He was challenging them. Upon arrival, the facility was cold and efficient. Rows of humans were kept in clean, transparent chambers, monitored, sedated, fed. Most were quiet, some confused. A few wept in silence. But not Jack. Jack had broken his restraints on day 2. Damaged the scanning equipment. Threatened to bite the head of the attending biologist. Now he was isolated. When Erla entered the chamber, he was chained to the floor, arms resting on his knees. Head down. He looked up and stared straight at her. She felt her throat tighten. His eyes weren't dull like the others. They burned like twin suns under pressure. "You here to poke me with something too?" Jack asked, voice dry. She stepped forward. "I came to talk. Talking's free. Try anything else, and I bite." Erla tilted her head. "Do humans always bite when they're scared?" He raised an eyebrow. "Do aliens always abduct people they like?" Touchy, acute. She sat down cross-legged, just outside the energy field. For a while they said nothing. Just stared. "Why?" "Me?" he asked eventually. "You're genetically compatible." He snorted. "So is a chicken." Erla's lips twitched. "But chickens don't fight back, or joke under pressure, or break a reinforced bed frame." "Hey," Jack said proudly. "That bed had it coming." Erla leaned forward. "They don't see it, but I do. You're not like the others. You think when you're trapped. You laugh when you're bleeding. You feel." Jack narrowed his eyes. "And what do you feel, lady?" She hesitated. "I feel hope," she whispered. He stared at her. For the first time, his smirk faded. "You know," he said quietly, "this place, these labs, they're all cold, empty, like nobody here remembers what it means to just be alive." Erla nodded slowly. "That's why I chose you." Jack leaned back, resting his head against the wall. "You're weird for an alien. You're weird for a human." A silence fell between them again, but this time it wasn't cold. It was curious. Soft. Then the comlink buzzed. "Specimen 47 is to be transferred to breeding chamber 6. A voice ordered. Jack stood instantly. "The hell is that?" Erla's heart jumped. She knew what that meant. Forced breeding protocols, sedation, extraction. The others believed humans didn't need consent, just samples. No! She shouted. Into the link. He's under my observation now. I filed transfer orders. Denied, the voice replied. Erla stood. Override command, Section 92X. I claim full custody for independent bonding trial. A pause. Then, approved, for now. Jack looked at her like she'd grown two heads. What was that? Erla turned to him, chest pounding. You want dinner first, right? He blinked. What? Tomorrow, in the garden chamber. Real food, real conversation, no needles. Jack stared at her, stunned. Finally, he muttered, Lady, if this is some elaborate trap, just know I eat a lot. Erla smiled. Good. I want to see how real. Humans feed their strength. As she walked away, Jack called out, Hey, alien girl. She turned. You said you feel hope? He asked. Yes? Don't lose it. You're gonna need it if you plan to deal with me. She nodded. Challenge. Accepted, human. The garden chamber was unlike anything Jack had seen since arriving on this strange alien station. Soft glowing trees with glass-like leaves shimmered under a silver sky. Strange flowers pulsed gently with color as if breathing. A small table was set in the center of a stone circle, 2 chairs, 2 plates, and no guards in sight. Jack stood at the entrance, blinking. This isn't the usual interrogation room. Erla approached, dressed in a soft white robe instead of her usual uniform. Her hair was down, her eyes steady. She gestured to the seat. This time, I wanted you to feel like a person, not a prisoner. Jack raised an eyebrow but sat down anyway. So, is this a date or a trap? She smiled faintly. I told you. No needles, no tests, just talk. And food. The plate in front of him held something that looked surprisingly like grilled meat and roasted vegetables. He picked up a fork cautiously. This isn't poisoned, is it? If I wanted you dead, I'd have let the others take you, she said. Jack grinned. That's comforting. As they ate, the air between them began to shift. The silence wasn't heavy now, it was curious. Erla asked questions about Earth, about families, about what it meant to love someone without needing permission. Jack spoke more than he expected to. About his time in the army. About losing friends. About the day he woke up in a cage and realized he wasn't on Earth anymore. Then she asked quietly, Do you miss anyone? Jack stared at his fork. I had a brother, younger. We fought a lot. He cried when I enlisted. He swallowed hard. I didn't get to say goodbye. Erla didn't speak for a while. Then she said softly, My sister cried when she was told she couldn't conceive anymore. She stopped speaking for days. Jack looked up at her. For the first time she didn't look alien. She looked lonely. What happened to your people? He asked. We forgot what it meant to feel, she said. We prioritized logic, purity. We stopped bonding, stopped loving. We turned birth into science. He nodded slowly. That's why you're all dying. Yes, Jack leaned back. So let me get this straight. You need humans because we're emotional, chaotic, and apparently very fertile. She didn't laugh. We need more than your genes. We need your fire. He studied her. And what do you need, Erla? Not your people, you. She opened her mouth then closed it. Her voice was barely above a whisper. I don't know. Yet, suddenly, a sharp alarm blared through the chamber. The doors hissed open as 2 armored guards rushed in, weapons raised. What the hell? Jack stood up, fists clenched. Erla stepped in front of him. Stand down. He's under my protection. One of the guards growled. The council demands the human be tested. Now, the bonding experiment is considered too slow. You can't just take him. Erla snapped. He is breeding material, the guard said coldly. He does not Have rights. Jack's fists clenched tighter. Say that again. Before anyone could move, Jack lunged. He knocked one guard to the ground with a sharp elbow strike. The other aimed a plasma spear, but Jack grabbed the barrel and twisted. The weapon discharged, lighting up the chamber wall, but no one was hurt. In less than 15 seconds, both guards were down. Jack's chest heaved. His hands were shaking. Not from fear but fury. Erla stared at him in shock. You fought trained warriors, unarmed. They called me a thing, Jack spat. She walked to him slowly. Her hand reached out, not to test him, but to touch his shoulder gently. You're not just a sample, she whispered. You're alive. And they don't deserve you. He looked at her, breathing hard. Then why are you still here? Because I don't want a sample, she said. I want someone who chooses me back. He blinked. She stepped closer. I'm not here to force you. I want to build something real, even if that means risking everything. Jack looked into her eyes and for once saw no calculation. Just truth. I don't know what this is, he said slowly. But I'll fight for it, if you will too. Erla nodded. Then let's begin our own experiment. She turned to the guards on the floor and activated a beacon. I'll handle the council. You'll stay here tonight. Jack smirked. Do I at least get dessert? She smiled softly. Tomorrow. If you survive the scandal I just caused. He sat down again. Worth it. As the garden lights dimmed and the moons rose outside the transparent ceiling, two souls, one human. One alien sat across from each other, no longer enemies or test subjects, just two people. Learning to feel again, the council chamber was colder than usual. It wasn't just the climate controls, it was the mood. High above the city in a glass-paneled dome, the ruling elders of Ixer gathered in a semicircle, their expressions grim, their thoughts loud despite the silence. The holographic footage on the central display flickered once more. A human male, Jack Carter, disarming two royal guards, fast, brutal, efficient, untrained by Xarian standards, yet somehow victorious. This isn't a mate, Elder Vorn spat. This is a weapon. And she endangered us all by protecting it, said another. The female Erla must be removed from the program. The queen remained quiet, fingers steepled beneath her chin. Then came the sound of quiet footsteps. Erla walked into the chamber, alone. No guards, no escort. Just her white uniform and unshaken eyes. You summoned me, she said calmly. Elder Vorn didn't waste time. You broke protocol. You ignored a direct order. You bonded emotionally with a test subject. Explain yourself. I didn't bond emotionally, Erla said. Not accidentally. She stepped forward, voice growing firmer. I chose to. On purpose. A few gasped. This is not a random human, she continued. He's resilient, intelligent, emotionally complex. He challenges me, questions me, makes me think. That's exactly what we've lost. That's what our species needs. You're a scientist, Vorn snapped, not a romantic. I'm both, she replied. And that's the problem. We've become so cold, so clinical, that we fear emotion more than death. We treat hope like a disease. Another elder scoffed. What are you suggesting? Erla raised her chin. I propose a voluntary union with Jack Carter. A true bond, one not forced, not extracted but real. The chamber exploded in murmurs. It was madness. It was impossible. It was unheard of. Do you understand what you're asking for? The queen finally spoke. You wish to legally pair with an off-world species? With no guarantee of conception? With full rights granted to a human male? I do, Erla said without hesitation. I won't treat him like property. If he's going to help us survive, he deserves to live among us, as one of us. And if he refuses? Someone asked. Then we let him go, Erla said. A long silence. Then the queen spoke again. Bring the human. Jack Carter didn't like being summoned, especially by people who considered him breeding stock. He was led into the chamber by silent guards. Unlike before, he wasn't in chains. No restraints. Just a simple tunic and his usual frown. He scanned the room, spotted Arilla, and raised an eyebrow. This looks like a trap. Arilla shook her head gently. It's your choice this time, the Queen addressed him directly. Human Jack Carter, do you understand why you're here? Something about being a sperm donor with attitude? One elder choked. Another looked horrified. Jack smirked. Joking, kinda, the Queen sighed. You've disrupted protocol. Harmed our guards. Confused our people. Yet ... You sparked something we have not seen in decades. Annoyance? Jack offered. Emotion, she corrected. Arilla stepped forward. Jack, I didn't ask you before because I wasn't allowed. But now I am, so ... here it is. She took a breath. Will you bond with me freely, as equals? No labs. No experiments. Just ... us. A chance to try something real. Jack blinked. He looked at her, at the silent council, at the massive domed sky above them. He could feel every eye in the room. He scratched the back of his neck. So ... let me get this straight. I was kidnapped. Thrown in a cage. Threatened. Almost tested like a lab rat. And now, you're asking me to say yes ... to all of this? Yes, Arilla said softly. He crossed his arms. And if I say no? You'll be returned to Earth. Your memory scrubbed. You'll wake up thinking it was all a dream. Jack stared at her. Then, slowly, a grin spread across his face. I've had worse first dates. The chamber erupted again. Outrage, disbelief, confusion. But the Queen raised a hand. Silence returned. Then it is done, she said. The first cross-species voluntary bond in Xarian history is approved. Jack looked at Arilla. So ... what happens now? She smiled, eyes shining. Now we prove them all wrong. And deep in the heart of a dying civilization, something unexpected was born, not just a proposal, but a spark. A human's defiance at an alien's hope, and the beginning of something that could change two worlds forever. The bonding sanctuary wasn't what Jack expected. No wires. No cold machines. No prying eyes. Instead, he stood barefoot on soft moss inside a glowing crystal dome. Warm light filled the air, and strange music hummed gently from the walls. It smelled like rain and something sweet he couldn't name. Arilla entered quietly, wearing a flowing silver robe. She looked unsure, not like the confident alien scientist who had stood before her entire council, but like someone stepping into something new. Something that mattered. Jack gave a slow nod. So this is it, huh? She nodded. This is the place where two minds, two hearts, and two species try to become one. He scratched his head. No pressure. A smile tugged at her lips. They sat across from each other on the soft floor. Between them lay a shallow bowl filled with glowing blue liquid. This is a bonding agent, she explained. It doesn't force anything. It just opens our thoughts to each other, makes it easier to feel truth. Truth, huh? Jack said, eyeing it. You sure you want to see what's in my head? Arilla looked straight into his eyes. Yes, I want to see the fire, the chaos, the memories, even the pain. He exhaled. All right, let's do this. Together, they dipped their fingers into the bowl. For a moment, nothing happened. Then everything did. Flashes of thought and memory sparked in the air like fireflies. Jack saw her past, bright and painful. Arilla as a child, standing in a glass room, watching another child cry in silence after another failed fertility attempt. Arilla older, watching her mother slip away, broken not by illness, but by hopelessness. Then he saw her watching him. The day he first laughed in captivity. That spark in her chest. The wordless question, could he be the answer? She in turn saw him, a little boy on Earth, hiding under a blanket while his parents screamed in the next room. A teenage Jack, fist-bloodied, protecting his brother from bullies. A soldier Jack, terrified but charging forward to save a fallen teammate. And finally, Jack in the cage rage, pain, confusion, but a stubborn refusal to give up. The lights dimmed, the bowl faded. But something else remained, a quiet stillness. A pulse that wasn't just hers or his, but something shared. They opened their eyes. You saw it, Erila whispered. You carry so much, he gave a small nod. So, do you? They didn't speak for a long time. They didn't need to. He reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. Instead, she leaned closer until their foreheads touched. A soft glow formed between them, pale gold, warm and steady dot. It wasn't just emotional. It was biological, the Exarian. Body responded to true connection. Not just physical pairing, but real emotional alignment. Erila gasped as she felt a deep shift within. Something ancient. Something her people hadn't felt in generations. She placed a hand over her abdomen, eyes wide. Jack looked concerned. What is it? You okay? She said, blinking. There's something new. Something alive. It shouldn't be possible so fast. Jack froze. Wait already? She laughed softly. No, not a child. Not yet. But the spark. The biological response. The body recognizing the potential. It's working. The bond is real. Jack leaned back, rubbing his face. This is a lot. I know. He looked at her. And you're sure you're okay with this? With me? She touched his chest lightly. I didn't fall for a perfect male. I fell for you. The mess, the noise, the strength. The strange earth jokes I don't understand. He grinned. You'll learn, she smiled. I hope so. Then her expression turned serious. But the council won't celebrate yet. Some of them still see you as a threat. Let them, Jack said. I'm not going anywhere, she nodded. Then we'll face it together. Later that night, in the observation wing, two silent figures stared at a monitor. It showed Jack and Erila sitting together, laughing softly under the dome lights. He's triggering full-body synchronization, the elder whispered. We haven't seen that since before the collapse. Which means the bond is more than emotional, the other said. It's genetic, foundational. He may be the first successful pairing in centuries. So what do we do? A long pause. Protect them. At all costs. Back in the sanctuary, Jack lay on the mossy floor. Erila's head resting gently on his shoulder. You still think I'm chaotic? He asked. Yes, she murmured. Good. She smiled in the darkness. For the first time in years, Erila wasn't afraid of tomorrow. Because tonight, something stronger than science had been born. Hope. Real hope. And its name was Jack. The news spread faster than fire in dry wind. First, it leaked as a rumor. A human male had bonded with the Exarian female. The first successful connection in generations. Most didn't believe it. Some laughed. Others called it dangerous propaganda. But then the image appeared. A glowing scan. Shared quietly between the scientific guilds, then picked up by rebel networks. It showed the impossible Erila's body showing early signs of hormonal alignment, neural harmony, and something more. Preconceptional spark. Every expert who saw it knew exactly what it meant. It had begun. The bond was real. The child could come next, and that terrified everyone. Inside the capital, the council chamber turned into chaos. This cannot be allowed to continue. Elder Vorn roared. If we let this hybrid abomination be born, our bloodline will be forever tainted. He is not an abomination, another scientist argued. He's the first hope in 100 years. He's a human, someone spat. Warm-blooded animal who defied our soldiers and seduced one of our best researchers. The queen said nothing. Her face was still unreadable, but when the shouting died down, she stood. I have lived longer than all of you. I have buried more children than I dare count. And I have watched this world grow silent with every passing year. Her voice cracked. Just slightly. Now you bring me life, and you dare call it a mistake? The chamber fell silent. Then a voice came through the comes urgent, panicked. Your Highness, we have a problem. Far away, beyond the floating towers of the capital, in the deep jungle zones, a rebel faction known as the Blood Purists were gathering, led by a radical named Cern Kaal. They believed in pure Exarian genetics, no mixing, no bonding, no outside contamination. To them, the news of the human bond was not a miracle. It was a threat. They think one outsider with charm and broken language can fix us? Cern growled to his followers. They will breed us. Out. Turn our children into strangers. And for what? Emotion? Chaos? He raised a plasma rifle. We end this. Before it spreads. They began to move, back in the sanctuary. Jack and Arilla had no idea a storm was coming. They walked quietly through the garden dome, holding hands. For a brief moment, it felt like peace. Jack stopped near a glowing tree and looked up at the twin moons. Didn't think I'd be a part of galactic history, he muttered. Arilla smiled. You didn't just become part of it, you rewrote it. Then her face changed, a flicker of alarm in her eyes. She turned sharply toward the outer wall of the dome. Jack followed her gaze. What is it? She touched her communicator. Security. Breach. Unknown ships entering restricted airspace. Visitors? No, she said grimly. Trouble. Suddenly, the sky turned red. Explosions rocked the outer towers. Sirens wailed across the sanctuary. Arilla pulled Jack into cover. You need to run. No chance. You're not a soldier. I don't need to be, Jack said. I've survived worse. She handed him a compact weapon. Only use this if necessary. I always find necessary pretty quick, he said. They moved together back to the central core of the sanctuary where backup security was forming. Fighters were scrambling to intercept the incoming rebel ships. Then came the voice over the loudspeaker. This is Cern Kaal of the Blood Purists. Surrender the human and the traitor female, or we level this place to ash. Jack glanced at Arilla. Friendly guy. She was pale. If they destroy this place, every record of our bond of the success will be lost. Then we don't let them. As the rebel forces landed, smoke filled the air. Red armored fighters marched through the trees. But they weren't ready for what they found. Jack Carter, Earthborn, untrained, and completely furious, was waiting. He fought like a wild animal, using instinct, speed, and the alien weapon like he'd been born with it. He struck from the shadows, distracted enemy squads, and protected injured security guards like they were his own. And beside him, Arilla was no longer just a scientist. She was a warrior. Together they pushed the line back inch by inch. But the rebels had one last weapon, a gravity bomb, designed to flatten the entire sanctuary in one blast. Jack saw it first. No, he growled. He sprinted through enemy fire, dodging blasts, sliding under collapsing branches, and leapt onto the platform where the device pulsed with energy. He didn't hesitate. He yanked the core from the housing and tossed it high into the air. Arilla screamed. The blast lit the sky like a second sun, but far above the ground. Smoke cleared. Jack was lying in the dirt, coughing but alive. Arilla fell to her knees beside him. You idiot, she sobbed. You could have died. He smiled, bruised and broken. Had to make sure the kid has a future, right? She laughed through her tears. The rebel threat was gone. The council watched the footage in silence of Jack fighting. To protect them, not himself. The queen finally spoke. Let no one question again whether he deserves to stay. And across the planet, something strange began to happen. Citizens who once feared the human began to hope. Because for the first time in generations they saw a future, and its heartbeat was human. The sun rose differently that morning over Exer, not because its light had changed, but because its people had. For generations, dawn had only brought silence, an empty future, a quiet fear. But today, voices filled the air. Laughter echoed through corridors once silent. Children peeked out from study chambers. Families long broken by hopelessness looked to the sky again. And in the heart of the capital, in a healing sanctuary surrounded by golden trees and clear skies, one human stood quietly watching it all. Jack Carter leaned against a smooth pillar, arms crossed, a faint smile on his lips. He still wore the same boots he arrived in, though they were patched and scuffed now. But everything else about him had changed. He was no longer a captive, not a test subject, not even just a hero. He was something Ixer had never seen before, a symbol of rebirth. Behind him, Erila stepped forward, a data pad in hand and a soft glow beneath her skin. Her body was different now, stronger, brighter. And within her, something small and new pulsed with life. Their bond had evolved into something undeniable. Proof, hope, a new beginning. You're early, she said gently, coming to stand beside him. Didn't want to miss the sunrise, he replied. It's warmer here, back on Earth. Mornings used to feel heavy. And now? Now, he said, turning toward her. It feels like breathing again. She reached for his hand. He took it without hesitation. Council wants to see us, she added after a moment. They're not just approving interspecies bonding anymore. They want to expand it. Build a shared program. Jack whistled. Let me guess, they want to call it something fancy? Unity Initiative? Project Harmony? Something with sparkles and banners? Erila laughed. You joke, but yes, they want you to name it. Jack groaned. Of course they do. But behind the sarcasm, he felt it, the weight. The truth. Everything had changed, and it all started with one choice, one connection, one refusal to be treated like a sample. You know, Erila said thoughtfully, when I first read about humans, I didn't understand them. I thought you were wild, dangerous, untamable. Jack shrugged. All true. And yet, she continued, her voice soft, you saved us, not just with your genes, but with your heart, your chaos, your fire. He turned toward her fully. You gave me something too. What's that? He smiled. A reason to stay. In the council chamber, the queen stood tall before a crowd that stretched to the edges of the capital. Not just counselors now, but citizens Exarians of all ranks and roles. For the first time in history, they had opened the chamber doors, because today wasn't about policy. It was about people. This union, she said, her voice firm but warm, was not predicted by science. It was not designed in a lab. It was not arranged by council decree. It happened naturally, emotionally, and against all odds. She gestured to Jack and Erila standing beside her. They risked everything for each other. For life, and because of them, our people now carry the seed of a future we thought we lost forever. The crowd erupted into soft, respectful chimes, the Exarian symbol for reverence. Jack leaned toward Erila. Still weird they don't clap, she chuckled. You'll get used to it. The queen continued, let this be the first of many bonds. Let this be the moment we stopped fearing the stars outside and started walking toward them. She looked at Jack. Do you have anything you wish to say? He hesitated. Then stepped forward. Not from here, he began. I didn't ask to come. And at first, I hated everything about this place. The crowd grew still. But then, someone saw me as more than a problem, more than a number. And I started seeing you the same way. He looked at Arila. She didn't fix me. I didn't fix her. But together, we made something new. And if that's not worth fighting for, I don't know what is. He looked back to the crowd. I'm just a guy, a stubborn, messy, half-broken human. But I promise you, if you give us a chance, we'll surprise you every time. The chimes rang again, but this time, louder, clearer, and full of hope. Weeks later, the first cross-species academy opened on Ixer. Earth sent volunteers, curious, brave, ready to understand. Ixarians greeted them with caution. Then curiosity. Then warmth. Jack and Arila became the first Council of Unity. Not rulers. Just guides. They didn't want power. They just wanted peace. And in a small home on the edge of the garden dome, late one evening, Arila placed Jack's hand gently on her belly. He froze, then smiled. You feel that? She whispered. Jack nodded. Eyes shining, a tiny kick, a promise. Their child. The first of a new kind. Half fire, half starlight, all heart.